gentlemen, welcome back to the Daily Dimensions podcast. As always, I am your host, Smitty, back with another one, man. And I'm excited, as always. We got a great episode for y'all today. We're going to be talking about expectations, but not just expectations, but being someone who grew up without a active father, right? And the expectations that are placed on men and how those two things interact with one another. Because, you know, whether it's society, relationships, the media, whoever is in your life, right? There's certain expectations that are placed on everybody. But in this episode, we're speaking about expectations placed on men. And the conflict I found, the issue I found, the problem I found, especially as it relates to my own life, is that these expectations don't disappear just because you didn't have someone to teach you how to fill them. And that's been a challenge for me my entire life, because there are certain things that people just expect men to do, things people expect men to know how to do or how to fulfill or how to meet. And it's like, they don't care that there wasn't another man to show you how to be a man. They just care about the result. And that has created a place where men, me and a lot of other people, feel like we have to perform to fulfill something, or we have to like break our backs and carry all this weight to try and fulfill something, or to try and fill a void, or to try and be something that we were never shown how to be, to try and build a house without being given the tools to build it. And the expectation to build it never goes away. And that creates a place where a lot of men just feel like they're not doing good enough. You can be wildly successful. You can do a lot of different things. There can be so many positive things going on in your life, but because you're not fulfilling the expectations that people say a man should fulfill, right? It creates this space where you just aren't satisfied. And even if you should feel satisfied or take a moment to really take inventory and appreciate where you are in life and how far you've come, it always feels like you haven't done enough, because there's always some sort of expectation that you need to fulfill that you just don't know how to. And some of the hardest things in life is trying to do the things we don't know how to do, and not having someone where we can look to and be like, hey, can you show me how to do this? There are so many things that I don't know how to do, and I wish I knew how to do, and I don't have someone to show me how to do it. And then you go to try and find the answer somewhere else. And usually that answer is somewhere online. And depending on where you land in the search of that answer, it can be a place that leads you to a more positive direction or a more negative direction. If you type in, how can I, get better in relationships, and you land on the Kev Samuel side of things, or you land on the Fresh and Fit side of things, or you land on the Daily Dimension side of things, you're going to get different perspectives. And depending on which one resonates with whatever is missing inside of you, it's going to push you a certain way. So I know I said a lot, and that could be the episode right there. But like, that's just where we're going with this episode today. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about expectations, male expectations, and how to fulfill that. The pressure it places on us, whether you have a father in your life or you don't. Like, the expectations that are placed on men nowadays, it's a lot. It's a lot. And the way our country is set up, the way society is set up, does not make it any easier. But before we get into all that, and we're already into it, but before we get further into that, your boy just came back off a road trip. If you've seen on my Instagram page, I was in Virginia. I went to go see my cousin Nick. Shout out to Nick. I hope you hear this. Love you, dog. I went to go see him. Hadn't seen him in a minute, man. And it was good just reconnecting with family again. And you could tell he was happy to reconnect with us. He ain't know we was coming. We came down and surprised my boy. We got in that car, and boy, it was a drive. Going down there wasn't bad. Coming back home was straight traffic, like from Delaware to, I don't know, Norwalk, bro. Traffic. It was crazy. It was ridiculous. And that was the part I was driving. It hurt my spirit, man, but it was good, man. And like, it felt good to reconnect with a piece of myself, like, obviously I'm born and raised up here in Connecticut, Bridgeport native, you know what I'm saying? But like, my mother's side of the family, Virginia through and through. And like, going back to be able to see that piece of like where my people come from and reconnecting with it and like understanding it and appreciating it As a kid, you used to hate getting in that car and being on a road trip sometimes because it's like, are we there yet? Your concept of time as a kid is rough. My concept of time is no longer than a cartoon episode at that time. But, you get older and you appreciate it more. And it's like you appreciate family more and you just want to be there for your people more. You just want to show up more. So that's what I tried to do, man. And it was a lot. It was an emotional experience for sure. But I'm happy I went. We probably gonna put some pictures or something. You know how we did the green screen joint last time with the baptism. We're gonna throw something up here. We're gonna let y'all see some stuff. Another thing that was weird when I was down there, I seen a peacock out there just wild. And I don't think peacocks come from America. I Googled it or something. They come from like India or something like that. So I don't know why it was wild peacocks out there. That threw me off. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know. I think there's some meaning in that or something for me seeing it. But yeah, Virginia was dope. I can't wait to go back. Hopefully I could be back there soon, man. But that was an amazing experience. So all that to the side, let's get into the episode. So I talked about my experience a little bit, and my father, it's well chronicled here, wasn't always the most present dad, but I love my dad and our relationship is amazing now. But there was always that expectation, right? Because it's me and two brothers in a house with my mom. There's no man in the house. There wasn't a man in the house. And there are certain things that like men, right? Quote, men are supposed to do. So when it came to like yard work, cutting grass, pulling weeds, planting plants, doing whatever, like wasn't really somebody there to show us how to do it. Like the most I learned from that was having to do it from my grandfather. And my grandfather's not really a teacher. He's one of them people that will, and my dad's the same way. He's one of them people that will give you the tool and tell you to go do it. And then when you mess up, that's when he tries to like be like, oh yeah, no, what? And he gets angry at you for messing up. He'll be like, yeah, go in there and dig this plant up, tell you what the plan is, but you don't know what it looks like. Go dig up XYZ and then bring it up. And then you dig up the wrong plant. Now he's screaming at you because you dug up the wrong plant. But it's like, he didn't really teach you. He just gives you the tool, tells you what to do, and assumes that you know what you're doing. One of those moments I had with my dad, right? And my dad coming from another country, growing up in the country, growing up on a farm, like in that type area. His experience growing up is very different than mine. And I had this moment with my dad when he had a house over on the north end, and he was building a shed in his backyard, and he had some plywood laying out on the ground. And if you leave stuff laying out on the ground or whatever, like snakes like to get up under that kind of thing. So I'm helping him build this shed. It's just me and him. And we lift up this plywood. There's about 4 or 5 snakes underneath that plywood. I'm about 12, maybe 12-ish, 12, 13. And this is my first time having any experiences with snakes. And he hands me a shovel and says, yeah, kill him. And then he walks away and leaves. And I'm 12 years old with a shovel looking at snakes for the first time, and I'm scared. And I'm like, I don't even know how to kill a snake. What do I do here? Are they going to bite me back? Like, are they going to come get me? If I missed the first time, are the other 4 going to get me to stick up for their friend? Like, I don't know what's going on right now. I'm scared. You didn't teach me how to do it. You didn't tell me how to do it. And then you just walked away. But the expectation for me to get it done is still there. You didn't teach me. You didn't show me. You didn't guide me through it. You didn't even stick around to support me in it. You just handed me the shovel and said, do your job, and then walked away. And for so many men, that's the norm. There's no support. There's no guidance. There's no wisdom. They just give you something and say, yeah, make it work. And so I'm there. I had the shovel and I had like a 2x4. And in my head, I'm like, if I just hit the snakes, I'll kill them. So I'm hitting these snakes with a 2x4, failing miserably. They're not dying. If anything, they're angry now. So I'm like, okay, how do I do this and not miss? So I used the 2x4 to hold the snake down, then took the shovel and would like cut the head off the snake. And I'm like, okay, I know how to do this now. And like, granted, yes, I learned how to do it, but we shouldn't have to learn everything on our own. We shouldn't have to learn everything through trial and error. And we shouldn't have to like go through so much fear to learn something. Yes, it's great that I was able to get it done, but like that experience could have been so much more fruitful, beneficial, and like just an easier process if he showed me how to do it and then said, this is how you do it. Now you can do it for yourself. And for some of us, it's snakes, but for a lot of us, it's how to be a dad, right? It's how to be a husband. It's how to be a boyfriend. It's how to be a career person. It's how to love correctly. It's how to use power tools or do anything handy around the house. Because again, that was a thing for me as well. Like something breaks in the house or something needs to be done in the house, my mother would look at me and like expect us to do it. And her favorite line was, oh, I have 3 boys in my house. I shouldn't have to pay anybody to come in my house and do something. And it's like, she may not realize how much that really tripped me up as a kid, because now it's like, dang, I don't know how to do this. And I wish I could do this, but I can't. And I'm disappointing my mother because I'm not doing something I don't know how to do. You know what I'm saying? And me telling her I don't know how to do it isn't enough to be like, okay, I understand. Let's try and figure this out. It's just met with disappointment. So now I feel it starts to emasculate you, because now you feel like less of a man because you don't know how to do the things that your mother expects you to do, or you don't know how to do the things that she thinks a man is supposed to know how to do, or is supposed to just step up and do and figure out. And much of my life was just figuring it out. There wasn't many people who taught me much of anything. If anything, much of my life was learning what not to do instead of learning how to do something correctly, and trying to avoid other people's mistakes instead of learning how to process my own. And that was such a difficult thing. And like, even to this day, like everything I know how to do, I had to figure it out for the most part on YouTube and just try, or like watch a video of someone else doing it, like on Facebook, or I see a friend do it or whatever, like, and just try. And it's not going to be perfect, but the effort is there. But much of my life, that was my experience with my mother and with my dad. And there was a lot of like, when I was with my dad, he wouldn't teach you how to do it. He would just tell you to go do it, you know? And then when I'm with my mom, she expects you to do it because you're a boy and you're supposed to just step up and do it. And we didn't know how to do a lot of these things, and we still don't know how to do a lot of these things. But then if you don't do it, you're still met with the same disappointment. And for much of my life, I struggled with feeling like I'm disappointing my mother, or feeling like I have to do everything she wants me to do to make her happy. And there's a lot of men who grow up without a dad, who find themselves trying to do everything that their fathers should be doing to make their moms happy. Right? Like, because ideally there would be a dad in that house that's doing the things my mother is expecting me to do, and ultimately will teach me how to do it so I can do it as well and help. Right. And like it becomes part of my responsibility. But instead, there's a gap in the exchange, and it just becomes my responsibility from a really young age. Like, I've been doing yard work since, I don't know, like my whole life, it feels like I've been doing yard work, dog. And then other things just add on top of that, you know. And now you gotta, as a man, you're expected to be a landscaper. You're expected to be a mechanic. You're expected to be a great lover. You're also expected to make a lot of money, to be in shape, to drive a certain car, to speak a certain way, to dress a certain way, to be a certain way. And there's so many different expectations that are placed on men that are really hard to fulfill. And unfortunately, with men, where we don't get the same benefit of the doubt as our counterparts, is that men don't get the same amount of credit for trying as other people do. Men get a lot of credit for results. They don't get the same amount of credit for effort. And we can try really, really hard, but if we fail, no one cares how hard we tried. You know what I'm saying? And that's been my experience, and it's been the experience of a lot of people around me, and from a lot of what I see in my community. Like, we don't get the same effort for trying. We only get that effort for results. And if we try really, really hard and miss the mark, and we're feeling down about it, there's not that same amount of support to be like, hey, bro, it's okay. Like, you trying your best, you doing your best, and it's just not hitting right now. You're just not meeting that mark right now. It's just not coming together the way you thought it would. It's just not coming together the way you imagined it. But it's okay. Like, understand you're trying your best and you've come a long way, and you may not be where you expected to be, but bro, you're so much further than where you started. And those conversations don't happen for men. Those spaces are too few for men. And a lot of men don't even know how to have that conversation with people because it's another thing that we weren't taught how to do. And now when it does come to a space where we feel like maybe we kind of could open up, you give it a chance. And if it don't go right, you're not opening up ever again. And it's also why you see with male suicide, the completion of male suicide is extremely high. I think it's higher than women in terms of completion rate. And a lot of it is because men get to a point where we just don't want things to be difficult no more. We just don't want to feel what we're feeling no more. We just don't want to deal with it no more. And it seems like we've tried everything we could. We've done all that we can, and we can't figure it out. And we don't know how to figure it out. And no one's helping us through this process. And at the very least, no one is comforting us through this process. And we just give up. And the only way we can really give up is to step away from life itself. Because as long as we're here, that expectation is there. And it's the only way to get away from the expectation. It's the only way to get away from the noise. It's the only way to get away from the pressure that comes with being a man, especially the added pressure of being a black man, and now you have this pressure of trying to assimilate into a society that doesn't care about you and doesn't view you fully as a valuable human being. And that's rough. Every time I step outside, I feel like I fit the description. You know what I'm saying? And I've had a lot of unfortunate run-ins where like, hey, come here. And I'm like, come on, dog. Like, what are we doing right now? So it's very challenging. And none of this is to say, because people get like that. Like, none of this is to say that life isn't challenging for everybody. But like I said in my last episode, I want to try and tailor this content towards men, specifically men of color, and speak to those experiences, speak to my experiences, and just let people know, like, this is what's happening. And everywhere we go, there's these expectations of men that are hard to fulfill. And there's expectations of women too that are hard to fulfill. And and unfortunately, we've placed unfair expectations on each other in a lot of different ways. I think one of the major differences though is that women do a great job at supporting each other. Women do a great job of coming together to console each other or help each other or be there for each other or be emotionally vulnerable in front of each other or provide each other for each other in terms of their love languages or whatever it may be. And like with men, we don't have that, and I'm trying to create those spaces, which is why we do things like the mental health cookout. But we just don't have that the same way. So at the very least, as they begin to navigate those things for themselves, right? Because it's rough everywhere. There's an added layer of support or an added layer of comfort that helps make that journey a little bit easier or make it just more palatable versus with us. It's like you either do it or you don't. And if it's not going right, tighten up. You know what I'm saying? Suck it up, stop crying, be a man, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get it out the mud. I don't want to get things out the mud. First of all, I'm not even trying to get dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would love to be in a space where someone is teaching me and then in turn I can go teach someone else. They'd be saying each one teach one, but no one's getting taught. The only thing teaching us is negative experiences. And we can only get so far as a people. We can only get so far as a culture if all we're doing is learning from negative experiences, the shade room and TikTok. Like, we're not getting nowhere in music, And so my hope is that through the work I do, through the work a lot of other people in similar spaces as me do, we can make this a better situation. Even if we don't reach every man, as long as we reach somebody, we're doing the right thing. Because it's rough out here, especially to being an emotionally inclined man, right? A man that understands his emotions. Even that is a weird expectation for people, because like men we're expected to only have certain emotions, stereotypically, right? Anger, joy, and probably lust, right? You can't be sad, you can't be anything in between. And when I get to articulating my emotions and things like that, I'll run into spaces where there's people on the other end of it who can't even hold the space for my emotions, but then expect me to hold the space for theirs. You know what I'm saying? And like add it on to all the other expectations. But like, I feel like because I'm that guy, like I've also been expected to be really emotionally available in places where like people aren't always emotionally available for me. And then it starts to create that space where you start feeling like, dang, nobody really cares about me, because man, I got to do all these other things you expect me to do and be emotionally available for you. But you can't be emotionally available for me, or you just don't know how to deal with handle what I'm saying to you. And now you telling me to go talk to somebody else. Like it's rough. It's rough out here as a man. And you start to develop that tough skin and that feeling like nobody cares, you know? Nobody cares about you. No one cares about how you're feeling. No one's concerned. It doesn't matter. And you start to feel like you don't matter. And that's one of the worst things, is when you start to feel like you don't matter. And I've been in that space too many times where I start feeling like I don't matter because I'm trying really hard and somehow no one's satisfied with what I've given them, or no one appreciates what I've given them. Or the appreciation doesn't last as long as the disappointment. You know, it's like you do something and it's like, yay, good job, thank you. But if you do the wrong thing, oh boy, that disappointment lasts a lifetime. And now it's like something you bringing up years later, and it's like, bro, I thought we moved past that. So it's challenging. But from being someone who has done a lot of that self-work, someone who's done a lot of that internal work, that inner child work, and is still doing a lot of work in a lot of different ways, I'm finally finding myself in a space where like, okay, I may not have met somebody else's expectations, but I'm meeting my own expectations. And even if I'm not meeting my own expectations, giving myself grace and understanding that I will meet them at some point. Just give yourself grace through that process and don't beat up on yourself because you're not there yet, you know, and taking that effort to try and learn the things that I don't know. And once I realize I don't know something, doing something to try and figure that out and correct that, but not doing it because I'm trying to please other people, but doing it for me. I'm learning these things because I want to learn these things. I'm learning these things because I want to make life easier for my children. I'm learning these things because I just want to be a better person. And now my self-worth is no longer attached to how happy I can make someone or how much I can fulfill someone's expectations. I'm now in a space where I'm okay to disappoint people. And I think that's such a big leap for me, and a big step in being secure in who I am, is that I don't care too much if I disappoint you, because disappointment is a part of life. And instead of moving as someone who's doing everything he can to not disappoint the people he loves, I'm moving as someone who is trying to do everything he can to be the best version of himself. And if that means I ruffle some feathers along the way, then so be it. You know, if it means I got to call some things out that just ain't right and it's going to be tension for a minute, cool. If it means I got to hold you accountable and you getting tired of me holding you accountable, so what? If it means I got to do better at holding myself accountable, if it means I got to put my pride to the side, if it means I got to like apologize more, and even if it means I got to apologize more to myself, like I'm cool with that. But no longer am I in that space where other people's expectations of me, whether it be friends, family, loved ones, society, the media, music, whatever it is, external expectations of me don't matter. The only expectations that matter to me in this point in my life is the expectation that God has for me and the expectation that I have for myself. And as long as I continue to meet those, I'm moving in the right direction. And as other things get added to me, there's different expectations that come with that, but we'll handle those when we get there. But for now, I'm learning to love myself better. I'm learning to be more obedient, more disciplined. I'm able to bounce back from my feelings better. And I'm just in an overall better place. And I know that if I can get here, you can get here. And that's what we're here for. I'm here to help you get here. So I hope that this episode resonated. And not even I hope, I know it did. And I hope that this isn't the last conversation that we have together. And I hope that you stick around because we got a lot more in store. We have more events, more episodes, more just community outings, more brotherhood coming, more community coming. And I hope that y'all stick around for this transformation, that you stick around for what's in store, because we're going to continue to do some amazing things. And we're going to continue to change this world around us one step at a time, one day at a time. So until next time, this is Daily Dimensions. I am your host, Jordan Smith. Peace.